black and white, good and bad. That is what we are talking about here today, TNA fam. We're back here again at the Impact Zone podcast, where today we're talking about the differences and some shenanigans about heels and faces. Now, I've talked a bit about it over here and there, but I do think that something that is important in this is somewhat of nuance. Now, I don't think that, because again, like, people are very aware of nuance now and that sort of thing, and I don't think people will get or will accept just a pure black heel and a pure white babyface. That doesn't really work. That isn't a realistic expectation that people have nowadays. They know that their baby faces are somewhat flawed, but they are still, quote unquote, the good guy, no matter what. They know that their heels have some not so, like, absolutely terrible attributes, but they know that they are the bad guys. So that this is the thing. You can not have a debate into saying who is the bad guy and who is the good guy. There has to be a clear good guy, bad guy, most of the time. Yes, you can have babyface versus babyface, or heel versus heel, but, like, again, like with babyface versus babyface, at least somewhat, some fans will start to kind of figure out who they're cheering for in some ways. And it is, I think it is up to the wrestlers as well to play into that. Because if you're not playing into that and what the crowd wants, then you're not doing what they want you to do. You know what I mean? You've got to be delivering what they want to see. So if one wrestler is getting more cheers than the other wrestler, then that wrestler that isn't getting as many cheers needs to start working more heel in this match, because again, these fans want that other person more. Now, sometimes that's, something that the more experienced veteran does. So sometimes it has to be the veteran that has to work a little bit more heel per se, because they're the only ones that, can carry the match in that regard and can dictate the match and can pace the match and can understand, everything that's going on in the match. The younger wrestler is there to look good and to follow instructions as much as possible. So in that scenario, it's a bit different. You might not be able to listen to the crowd exactly, but you still have to be like, okay, we've got to listen to the crowd and we've got to try to carry this match to the direction that the fans want it. And you can't take that as an offense to you as being a babyface or whatever. You have to say, okay, they like this guy more, and that is what it is. And the thing is, hey, if they like him more, hey, wait a minute, he's going to draw us more money. So that's the end of the sort of idea, like, the company is based on whoever is at the top and who is ever drawing in the money. So again, if you're a babyface going up against a babyface and you're trying to have this match, well, you've got to feed for the other person that is getting a bigger reaction. Because again, that is who is drawing the money. You cannot be trying to outdo them, because that is what the fans will want. They will want that person to do the things and get over and do the things that they want them to do. So yes, it's a bit of that's a little bit of a slippery slope or whatever else it is sometimes, but that is the circumstance that you're in. You've got to be saying, okay, cool, this is where I'm at, this is what is going on, so that's the flow of this match, so that's what we're going to do. Fans are cheering this person, so that's the person that's going to get over, or they're cheering this person more, and the crowd can go back and forth too, like you never know. But again, that's where you've got to be reading the crowd and being like, maybe the crowd just wants to see a great wrestling match between two great wrestlers, you know, like that's maybe what they want to see. Like they do want to see that, but like again, like maybe that's more of the vibe. They're not just like here to see one person, they're here to just to see it, you know, like. But again, same thing. It's you've got to find that place where it's like the fans are happy with what's going down, and you know, make it work. Obviously, you've also got to be trying to think ahead, especially if you're a younger wrestler or whatever, you know, or you have a younger wrestler in the match. It's like, okay, or like newer wrestler, somebody the fans might be not yet totally behind or whatever, but somebody that, you know, has a bright future, and be like, oh, okay, we need to give this person some shine, and we need to give them some time to shine. So, you know, let's give them some stuff to work with here, you know, so that, you know, are the fans receptive to that? Let's see, you know, like how can we see if they're receptive? You know, you need to see that, you know, like, so you need to let them go through some of those things that would let them, or would let the fans feel that, or want to feel that, or, you know, all of that stuff. So same thing for heels. Like, at some point, one of you guys has got to start working more babyface, because, again, if neither of you are that likable, then why would anybody care about the outcome or the match itself? You know, unless you're both going to work extremely heel and try to out-heel each other, that can be somewhat fun in some regards. But again, like, people need somebody to cheer for and somebody to not like in a match, mostly, you know, because that's just the way the matches flow. You know, the matches flow a whole lot better when the fans can cheer for somebody and can like somebody and can be like, no, I want to see this person win. I want to see this person win. Come on, person. Fight, 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 fight. I want you to fight for me. Show me that you can do it, you know, please. I don't want to see such and such win, you know. Even if that is what's going to happen, you know, people want to see the person that they want to see win. So one of you has got to be the babyface and the other has got to be the heel, so that the fans can go along the journey and the fans feel like they've got a dog in the fight or whatever. You know what I mean? Because if neither of you are redeeming, then it's like, well, why are the fans paying it? Like, why was this booked for one thing, but why are the fans paying attention? You know what I mean? So that's the artwork of going, okay, it is what it is. We're both traditionally heels. We're in a new promotion. Maybe the promoter doesn't really know us, or whatever it is, or maybe they're just like, we need a match on the card. You are the last two guys that we've got. Bam, you're together. That's it. You know, so it is what it is, whatever. You know, same thing for babyfaces. Though usually it's not like that. But again, like, if this is the circumstance where it's like, well, this isn't what we asked for and we'd never normally wrestle against each other, it's like, well, so what? That does not matter. We need to wrestle against each other because, again, this is where we're at. This is the match that's been announced. Or whatever, it's the match that's going to go down tonight, or whatever it is. So again, we need to entertain that fan, or those fans. There needs to be, like, for the fans, like, and maybe, like, that can be carried as well in a promo quickly before you go out there, or whatever else it is, or even in the ring, or whatever else it is, or anything that you do. Just doing little things in the ring, doing little heel things, pulling the hair, raking the eyes, whatever else it is, low blows, whatever else it is. If you're going to have this match, you know, and things like that, okay, suddenly I'm working more heel because I'm the more evil one, or the, you know, whatever it is, or the more experienced one, so I know what's going on, and I don't really need to feel like I'm getting over, or I'm going to be the man, or whatever else it is. I'm fine with just being here and doing my job and getting these other people over. That's where I'm at. That is fine with me. I do not care about the rest. Like, if I get to that point, that's cool. I'm not going to say no, but my goal isn't to get super over. My goal is to to be here and to be a cog in the machine or whatever. And to me, that's a noble goal, but to me, that's a goal that I'd be like, dude, what the heck? Like, why are you doing here, man? That's what just about everyone has, when they get into wrestling. I want to be the man. I want to be the champion. I want to be the one that's... And you can't always be that. But again, you've got to be thinking like, okay, how do we entertain people for 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, on a given night, or whatever it is, in this program, in this feud, whatever it is. So again, you need to realize, okay, am I the star? Do people want to see what I can do, or is it my opponent that they want to see and they want to be the star? You need to be realizing, okay, cognizantly, and maybe, like, again, you might get this thing, like, look at The Rock versus Hogan, right? This classic example. The management booked it. Hogan was the heel throughout the whole feud leading up to WrestleMania. Once they got to the arena and got in the ring, everyone was chanting for Hogan. Everyone was behind Hogan, and it didn't matter what Rocky was going to do. He was the heel on that night. So he started playing heel that night. And it didn't matter if the office had have told them, hey, you guys have got to work for Rocky to be the babyface. They had to listen. They had to listen to the crowd and go, no, I can still work heel, but I can still win this match and I can still work it basically in the same, I can do the same moves or whatever that I was planning to do, or some of the spots that I was planning to do or whatever. But I cannot do them in the same way. I need to do them in a more heelish manner or whatever. Some of the things need to be slightly flipped or changed or whatever else it is, so that, again, when it comes time for something else, that the other person can do the thing that is needed for the crowd to interact with that. The crowd is the ultimate guide for you to understand, okay, cool, this is where we're at, this is what's going on, this is who's over, whatever. All of that stuff. You cannot go against the crowd. You have to go with the crowd, or you have to try to get the crowd to go with whatever. You've got to figure out what the crowd wants, why they want it, how they want it, when they want it, where they want it, etc. So that's the puzzle. That's the the part of wrestling that you don't really get much of. It's one of those things that you've got to be able to be intuitive, and you've got to be able to be reacting. You've got to be in the moment. You've got to be able to say, okay, this is where we're at, this is what's going on, this is what the crowd want, this is what they're doing, okay, this is the vibe, this is the feeling. We've got to take them on that ride, on that feeling. So again, one person has to be the good guy, one person has to be the bad guy. And it doesn't matter if next week you're going to be the same babyface, but maybe you can add or start adding that little extra edge to yourself somewhat, so that you can go on later to have a bigger heel run or something, or try and reinvent yourself or something. Or even just saying, hey, well, that's part of my character now, that I have a slight edge. I'm not just a pure white meat babyface, because there aren't real white meat babyface people in real life for the most part. Everyone has a slight flaw to them, but most people are very nice for the most part, but there are obviously a lot of assholes out there. Well, technically, everyone's got an asshole, but you know what I mean. There are a bunch of people that are more so stuck up, arrogant, overconfident, whatever else it is, self-absorbed, whatever else it is, anything and everything else that you could possibly try to think of, that would, say, hey, this is where we're at, this is what's going on, whatever, etc. So that is what you've got to realize. You can't be sitting there and saying, but I'm a baby. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a baby face. It doesn't matter if you're a heel. At this point, in this place, in this regard, you've got to be going, okay, this is the role that I have got to fill. And hey, again, showcasing management, hey, we could handle that. Showcase not just the management that you've currently got, but showcasing that to other potential wrestling related bookings and whatnot. That is only good for you in your future endeavors. If you're going to continue in wrestling, then you've got to be flexible. You've got to be able to perform any role that is required of you. You can't just be this person that is a stick in the mud for what you want or whatever you think your direction is. You've got to be, no, I am willing to be a team player, and hey, I can showcase that I can do whatever is needed when it is called for. Hey, and be relied upon for doing said things, because otherwise, where am I going in this business? I'm going to get more people saying, hey, why don't you work baby, or why don't you work heel, or why didn't you work with the crowd, or that wasn't very smart, or whatever, or did you just not know what to do, or whatever else it was. That's another sign of you, maybe early on you might be like, oh yeah, well perhaps yes, we didn't know what we were doing or whatever, but still, if you get that initiative and you get to do that, and you can read that audience, and you can play that audience, and you can follow through with that, with an audience like that, that shows people, hey, you're actually pretty decent at this. You can change things up when needed. You can perform any role that is needed when it is called for, rather than just being, oh no, I'm going to do this. This is what I do. That's it. This is my role. No, thank you very much. I'm not interested in being a good hand and actually working, in the spaces that, hey, well, tonight we need a heel. Tonight we need a babyface. If you're not very good babyface, well, perhaps yeah, you're not the best babyface, but still, you say, well, all right, I'll do my best with it, and I'll try to make it work, and go out there and do it. Same thing if you're not a great heel, or you haven't really done a whole lot of it, and you say, oh well, too bad, that's what's happening tonight. You can't be inflexible, but you have to realize, again, hey, the fans aren't gonna buy that I'm the purest of white meat baby faces. That is so passé. It was passé 30 years ago, or even more. But again, you can't sit there and say, well, what does that mean? You still have to realize people want that somebody is the good guy, quote unquote, somebody is the bad guy, quote unquote, and somebody has to win and somebody has to lose and whatnot, So, and if, what match are we in? What has just happened before us? What's going to happen after us? Are we the match to send people home happy? No, we're not. So maybe the babyface can lose this match. Maybe that matters. Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. It depends on the situation. But again, saying we've still got to give people that experience of going through, not just walking through the motions, but going through the motions. We have to go through these motions so that people get the same feeling and same vibe from our match Babyface good, heel bad. We can cheer for the babyface. Maybe they'll win. Maybe they won't win. Whatever else it is. Maybe the heel will win. Maybe even if the babyface does lose, maybe it doesn't matter because maybe there's a bigger, larger story or something brewing or whatever else it is. And then they'll get their comeuppance later down the road or whatever else it is. People, again, and this in this day and age where people are like glued to their phones, things like that, the whole time, pretty much. And, there's that TikTok brain rot sort of stuff going on. You've got to grab people's attention. So doing things that, not just like moves, but doing things that, intent to people to pay attention. Oh shit, this person's been a traditional like babyface. Now he's a heel in this match. What's going on? Oh, I might pay attention, because now they're working heel. That's different from what they've done before, maybe not, but again, like you can only try your best. So same sort of thing. This person's been traditional heel. Now they're working babyface. Well, what's going on here? Oh, might pay attention. So it's like, it's only good for you to realize, hey, okay, I can work, and I'm a wrestler, and it's giving me extra experience, and it's showcasing not only to my peers and whatnot, or even the veterans, but the management, not only in my company, but around the world, that might say, hey, look at that kid. We haven't seen this kid before very much. He walked into this match as a babyface, but the crowd was cheering for the other guy or whatever. So now he's working heel. That's smart. He understands the game, or he at least understands the game a little bit more than some of these other people, and he's willing and ready to fill other roles when it's called for. So that's something that future employers or wrestling managers and whatnot will be like looking for, is if you're going out of your way to say, oh yes, I'll do whatever it takes. Even if it wasn't planned, it's like, well, you'd say to the referee, or you say, hey, look, they're chanting for this guy. We've got to change this match up. I've got to work heel and he's got to work babyface. Whatever. Same thing. You've got to be like, or whatever. Again, you walk out there and they say they're cheering you, whatever it is. And then it's like, oh man, they're not really cheering the other guy. Okay, well, he's walked into this match a heel, so, or he walked into this match a babyface and I walked in a heel, but they're cheering me. So it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm the babyface and he's the heel, so that's where we're at. We can't change what the fans want. That's what they want. So they're not going to change their opinion, essentially, realistically. They're going to chant what they're going to chant. So, like, let's just go with what they want. So there's so many good things, but you do have to realize, again, like, this isn't just black and white. Yes, perhaps some of these things are more shades of gray to some extent, but when you contrast to say, well, they're more black than what I am, so I'm definitely more white, more good, so to speak, than what they are. So I'm working babyface, they're working heel, or vice versa, or whatever it is. Or even if, say, I have been more white traditionally, so to speak, more good traditionally, again, if they're not cheering me and they're cheering the other guy, okay, cool. Well, suddenly I'm as black can be. I'm going as far black as my character has ever been and try to be the biggest heel in this match that I can be, and now trying to get the other person as over as pure white babyface as what I can. Of course, I cannot fully get them to like 1980s or early 1990s pure white meat babyface. That doesn't exist. But like, I'm going to work as hard as what I can to get them in that direction. So even if we're in this theoretical shades of gray, I'm not the purest of pure white meat baby faces. No one is. And this other person is not the biggest of, darkest evil heels. But when we're in this match, okay, if I am playing the babyface and the crowd is behind me as a babyface, well, I've got to be the purest of pure white meat babyfaces is what I can be, and they've got to be the darkest, most evilest heel as what they can be, because that is the psychology of these matches. That is the psychology of these two personalities clashing, and that is what the audience wants. If it's not what the audience wants, and I've been the purest white meat, or sort of more on the light white side or good side, but they're booing me, well, cool. Now I'm the biggest heel in the world because they're booing me and they're cheering him or whatever. So I've got to now play that role. I've got to give the fans what they want to see because they want to cheer that person. They might not be interested in me, but now they don't like me for some reason or whatever it is. Who knows? So now, that's my job. Even if that wasn't planned, again, this is the role that I should take. I have to do that because that is what is right for the match. And if somebody says to me, no, you shouldn't do that, whatever, well, then I don't think you know what you're talking about or whatever. Because again, you have to listen to the crowd and go with what they want, not with just this was what we planned or this whatever. If we went with what was planned, they would have booed the match out of the building. You know what I mean? So that doesn't, that doesn't work. We've got to satisfy the fans so that they can go away happy after seeing our match. Now, that's not always going to happen, sort of thing. But again, if it is happening, you need to be very aware of it. You can sometimes feel it in your entrances and things like this. But again, it depends on all these circumstances and all the conditions. Sometimes the fans have had enough of the same old act. You know what I mean? If you've been a babyface for a long period of time, perhaps it is, hey, well, I've been babyface for too long or whatever. Or maybe there's been too many other people like you, young, if you're younger and everyone's come out as this white meat babyface, these young athletic babyfaces. And you're filling that same role. It's we've seen this same thing over and over tonight, or whatever it is. So now we don't care about this person who's coming out here and it looks like they're a white meat babyface, or whatever it is. So that's what they don't want. They, or whatever it is. Again, it doesn't matter. But again, it doesn't matter what the situation is or why it is. You've just got to get your finger on that pulse and understand that and go with it. And even if that wasn't what was planned, you need to say, hey, referee, listen to what's happening. This isn't what was planned, but we have to flip the script. If we're not flipping the script, people are going to not be very happy with this match. So we need to flip the script. You need to communicate that with the back, and that's another thing that needs. They should agree. They shouldn't be no, proceed with the match as it was. Perhaps you can still get away with it, perhaps, but you need to realize that, hey, okay, well, maybe I should do a little bit more heel-ish stuff and do my things in a more heel-ish way at least, so that this match will flow the right way and the crowd will be happy. Because that is your ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal isn't to, yes, it is to please the bookers or to please whoever. But at the end of the day, as long as it entertains the crowd and keeps the crowd happy, then that is what you should do. So you shouldn't just sit there and go, oh, let's do it word for word, note for note, as we were told, or as we've practiced, or as we've thought, or as it had been booked. because the crowd isn't ready for that or doesn't want that. So now let's listen to the crowd, let's flow with the crowd, and let's give them the ride that they want. So, and perhaps that's been the problem, again, where people have come out and the crowd has been booing, but they've not listened and they've done their match the way that was planned, But if you go out there and do your match as planned, then it's another match that they went, no, this isn't the way that we want the match. So that it's compounding their dislike for whatever it is. Whatever it is that they don't want to see or want to see is what matters at the end of the day. You've got to please those people because those are the people that are putting the money in your pockets day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, in, year out. Those are your bread and your butter. So you can't go without the fans. If the promoter is pissed at you for changing or altering your match to please the fans, then they don't know they don't know this business and they don't understand what's going on, because that's the core of this business. They should be happy and they should be like, wow, you guys did a great job. You worked with the crowd and, you listened, because that is like one of the biggest things that you're taught. Listen, call things in the ring or call an audible sometimes if necessary, so that the crowd goes home happy. That is the point, And sometimes that'll be like the catalyst for things later down the road. As I sort of said, if somebody sees you, or if the promoter sees you, or even if another promoter sees you and says, wow, you did a good job. You actually worked babyface or you actually worked heel pretty well, even though you really haven't done much of that, or we haven't tried to do much of that with you, or whatever else it is. So well done in doing that, So, good job. You've obviously been listening and you've obviously been taking to heart, the advice that we've been giving you and things like that. So that can be like a really rewarding thing for you or whatever, not just in the moment, but over time again. So being able to be like, okay, be a bit flexible, understand the crowd, this is the way they want it, so don't try to fight it. Let's just do it. So you've got to have black and white, even if that's not a real quote-unquote thing, so to speak. You've got to have that. You've got to have that where the fans want it. You can't just have it where it was predetermined to be sometimes. Because if the fans are not going for it, then that is not gonna work. The fans aren't behind it, so it's not gonna work. You might, as I said, you might as well not try to fight it, and you might as well try to listen to the crowd and go, okay, they don't want me, they want that guy, or they really want me, they don't want that guy. So we've got to structure our match accordingly, or restructure our match accordingly. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. You can analyze till the cows come home what it was, why it was, how it was, whatever it was. It doesn't really matter. As long as you go out, if you go out there and you recognize it and you don't do something about it, then it's like, well, you're shooting yourself in your own foot for going, the crowd hates what's happening, but we're going to continue to do the match as planned as what we were doing it. It's only going to conflate the problem as you go along. So the quicker that you realize it, the quicker that you go, okay, let's change this up, let's make this work for the crowd at this moment, in this place, that's where they're at. They want this person, they want that person, they want me, or whoever it is, or whatever it is. That's what they want, so that's what you deliver. You don't deliver what they don't want. You know what I mean? You've got to be saying, okay, It is what it is. Tomorrow night, next week, Tuesday, whatever it is. Next show, who knows? Might be different. But, for right here, right now, this is what we've got to do. Or this is what we've got to try to do. And you've got to relay that to your opponent, unless they have already grasped the situation, or at least saying, hey, let's change it up, or whatever else it is. Flip the script, whatever else it is. Plus, again, you need to relay that to the referee. Even if you can't relay that to the back or whatever else it is, or anything like that, and get like some sort of nod or approval or whatever, no, that doesn't matter. For right here, right now, you might have to go off script, so to speak, because, serving the audience is more important, I think, than just sticking to the script sometimes, because, hey, we need to deliver for them in those seats. And, normally, yes, you would say, sticking to the script, so to speak, in a sense, is pretty simple, especially, on the indies. It's a lot more forgiving and whatnot. And things like that. It's a lot easier to go with the flow, or try to go with the flow more so than it is, say, in WWE or wherever, in the bigger promotions where there's a lot more, not overreach, but there's a lot more management, and there's a lot more, consideration behind these things, or whatever else it is. You don't want to piss people off, obviously, or whatever. You don't want to piss management off, obviously, but, the needs of the many are greater than the needs of the few, aka the needs of the fans, which are many, are greater than the needs of the few, which is the bookers and the management. And, again, that should be your mindset. Your mindset should be, yes, sure, definitely, and do it, and get it done, and understanding, hey, yes, maybe there is, especially in this day and age, no such great thing as a proper babyface or whatever else it is. But once the crowd is behind somebody, that is it. They are behind that person. That is who they're behind. Doesn't matter why they're behind them that much, but that is who they're behind. So they are the ones to be the ones that, are gonna do the big baby face things, whereas you've now got to be the big heel doing all the big heel sort of things and whatnot, so that fans can connect in the way that they wish to connect with these two people, three people, whatever else it is in this match. So, yeah. I thought that it was an interesting thing that I happened to see there the other day, and I do think that there is, that traditional black and white, absolutely, there is certainly some sense in that, but it's not really true 100%, because, as I said, you're really only shades of gray in a sense. But if you're a lighter shade of gray than your opponent, then you're the babyface, or a much lighter shade of gray to an extent. But, you shouldn't be out there trying to be this thing that people can't get past, if you know what I mean. So you can't just be, if you're a cool heel, you're really just a cool, a baby face with a cooler, more edgy attitude. Realistically, there's no really such thing as a cool heel per se. You're a cool baby face, you know what I mean? Because if you're out there to elicit babyface reactions, then that's what you're out there for. You're not out there to to be a heel and get booed if your attitude is I'm cool and people should think I'm cool and want to be like me. That is the role for the babyface. You know what I mean? So if you're taking the role away from the babyface in trying to be this cool bad guy or this, somewhat good heel with some cool traits and whatnot, realistically, you're a cool babyface. You're not a cool heel. You're a slightly cooler babyface. You've got some heel-ish aspects. You're in that gray scale, but clearly you are a babyface because it is now about you being the one cheered and being the one to get into people's hearts and minds and whatever else it is that gets people to get their butts in those seats, to do the things that is done, etc. So again, people will only care, when you go up against a baby face, it hurts them because what can they do to be more sympathetic or better or whatever than you? You know what I mean? So that hinders other people. And honestly, like, if the booker knows anything, they shouldn't put you against baby faces, but you shouldn't be cutting such heel style promos in some ways either. You should be cutting more babyface style promos and things like that, and working more of a babyface, maybe working a bit more smarter or whatever in some regards, like, I'm not dumb, I wasn't born yesterday, whatever type deal. That's fine. That's okay. Admitting you're not perfect or have some rough edges is something more babyface-ish. People can relate or can connect or can sympathize maybe a bit more with you, that you're not the perfect person, you're not the best role model or whatever, but you're just a somewhat good guy, in a situation, so, and just trying to fight for yourself and do your best. So that can be very much more babyface. But also, if this cool, this cool heel goes up against a heel, it's also hurting them in a way, unless you're actually actively going more towards being that babyface. If you're out there going to try to get that heat, then it's like, where does that other heel get that heat? They've got to get, like, especially one-on-one, maybe in a triple threat, maybe in other style matches, yes, maybe they can get some heat as well, or whatever it is, but if it's one-on-one and you're having a one-on-one feud, which are the majority of feuds, then it's like, how do they get over you? They have to now either be such a baddie so that you're now actually the babyface properly, or that you have to be such a baddie so that they're the heel. You know what I mean? You cannot try to get away from this completely, of saying, perhaps I am more of just a, streetwise smart or babyface or whatever else. I'm not really that heel that I considered myself to be, but that's perhaps, like, you could always start somewhere and have some attributes. And I always say you can take some attributes and you can have a transition phase, but that transition phase can't take too long, especially like when you're first initially getting to know people. That's maybe the first couple of months, maybe like the first 3 months or so of you are in front of the crowd's getting to know you, you're getting to know the crowd, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. That's where you're at. Maybe you're not shy, but you're not fully embraced by the crowd yet, and you're not fully embracing the crowd yet. So that's a transition period. Or you've been a babyface for a while, you've been a heel for a while, kind of, but you've got those other aspects that make you much more of a babyface, and now the crowd has gotten to know you for 3 months or so. And now finally, here we go. You get like you've just had matches and matches for the most part. Now finally, we're going to decide, has the audience warmed to you enough, or are we going to turn you heel, or are we going to try to make you a babyface? You know what I mean? So has the crowd started chanting for you? Have they started cheering for you? That sort of thing. Or have they been booing you? You know, so that's the sort of thing that you can be like, okay, I wanted to see what the crowd's reaction to this was. So I wasn't 100% sure on my alignment exactly, but they seem like, after being out there and after having some experience, they seem to either dig me or hate me. So that's the path then that you start to go down. You really start to nail in, okay, they hate me, they hate me, they hate me. Or they love me, they love me, they love me. You know, perhaps that's the sort of thing that does get, like, younger wrestlers or newer wrestlers, where it's like, I'm not sure. Do people really like me, or do they not really like me? Or are they just, like, falling in line, so to speak, with, this is the show, and hey, you're kind of expected to cheer, this is the baby face, this is the heel. That's the sort of thing. Like, are we really connected? Do they really like me? Or, you know, are they kind of playing a common courtesy and being like, yeah, all right, kid, go out there and show me, you know, sort of thing. So that can be the thing that younger or newer wrestlers struggle with, to go, like, maybe I should try to be a heel just to see if fans like me or hate me or are indifferent to that, you know, or whatever. So experimentation isn't bad, but it's, you know, like, you shouldn't be trying to flip-flop, or you shouldn't be trying to, like, change things up too much. You shouldn't, like, you can't be just heel turn, face turn, heel turn, face turn, heel turn, face turn. You know, like, you know, even though people have, like, lower attention spans now, you know, and things like that, if people get invested in something, or for people to get invested in something, it has to be consistent. It has to be fairly similar for a long period of time, for 6 months, 8 months, a year, whatever else it is. After a year or two, if the crowd is starting to wane a little bit or whatever, then maybe it's time to start going, okay, well, maybe let's make a change. Let's see if going in the other direction would be more successful, or they would enjoy that more, or whatever else it is. So let's see what we can do with that. You know, so yeah, it is one of those things of experimenting in the space and growing and understanding in wrestling. I think it is important, but you've got to understand, you know, you can't play this, like, you can try to play in the middle. Like, if one situation calls for you to be the heel and another situation calls for you to be the babyface, you can kind of be like, oh, well, I'll switch this week, I'll switch next week. That's kind of like a bit different, because, again, if you're switching all the time and changing all the time, people can't connect with you. You know what I mean? Like, people can't identify whether you're going to just betray them again next week, or if you're going to keep going on this path of being this good guy. And perhaps that can work in some regards of, like, if you've planned it out and been like, okay, our idea is to make a few changes so that people are worried, per se, or feeling per se, hey, what if this person stabs this person in the back? He stabbed a couple other people before in the back. He's been a good guy for a little while, but the last time he was a good guy for a little while, then he stabbed the other guy in the back. So that could be like your storyline. That could be like your angle of like, okay, we're going to let this play out for 3 or 4 or 5 months or 6 months or even more. It depends what you're trying to do and where the audience is at and whether they're invested or whatever else it is. And eventually, after X period of time, you finally figure out, am I turning heel? Am I turning babyface? Where are we at? Let's do this, so that you can then go from there and say, okay, that was people got invested because they didn't know whether I was going to be a good guy or whether I was going to be a bad guy because of what we did before, So that could work, but like you shouldn't be in that position too much. You shouldn't be flip-flopping because the more like you can change and you can evolve and situations can make you a babyface or heel over time, but it should be a natural progression. It shouldn't just be, I'm going to be babyface this week. No, I'm going to be heel this week. I'm going to be babyface, heel, babyface. You shouldn't be changing so much because otherwise people can't follow the narrative. People don't know whether to boo you or cheer you or don't know where you're at or don't know what you're doing or don't know why you're doing or the motivations for why you're doing it. They can't keep up with what you're doing. And they can't invest in you because, like, you're just changing all the time. So they don't know, oh, well, I was really invested in you as a babyface. Now you're a heel, so now I've got to boo. Oh, wait, now you've changed back to being a babyface. That's what I wanted, but you were just a heel, so I'm getting all these mixed messages. So now they don't know what to think. They've got to know what to think. They've got to know, hey, this is you, this is where we're going, sort of thing, and this is what to expect. And I can, comfortably feel like even if you're going to turn heel or you're going to turn babyface, for now, things are where they're at. And I can follow through until that point where this is what the crescendo of the story or the moment of the story where finally we see you're the heel, you're the babyface, or you've achieved the thing that you guys or you set out to do. So yeah. Those are the things there that I have been thinking about, like, with this, after talking to someone about, like, alignments and things like that there. So, yeah, that is pretty much it here for this one, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. And for those people that have stuck here, if you want to write fuck ICE in the comments, please write fuck ICE in the comments. Write free Palestine, write free Sudan, write free Venezuela, write all the things down there in the comments to get rid of this genocidal, pedophile ring and hopefully make a better world in which we can all live. So guys, yeah. That is it for this one. I hope you've enjoyed, as I said, and I hope you join me again in another one.